little bit of energy. I'm definitely excited about coming to speak with you guys. I know y'all probably like another guest speaker, but I do want to make sure you guys take advantage of all your guest speakers, not only us, but all of your guest speakers and what they have to offer. What do you guys want to do after you guys leave here? Y'all want to have a job, right? Course in what field? Huh? In law? Hey, y'all, I gotta get some energy from y'all. So y'all are in a criminal justice class, so y'all may want to do something in law or criminal justice. So that's why you have different people speak to you about different occupations after you guys graduate. So what we're coming to speak to you about, and what I'm gonna start about, is workforce development. And workforce development is, well, who knows about workforce development? Okay, this is perfect. So, workforce development is basically assisting people with helping them get jobs, right? Case management, but you're assisting them, helping them get jobs. So what I want you guys to do is, when you leave here, and I'm gonna ask your, I'm gonna ask the professors where if you guys did this, but I want you guys to look up workforce development and reentry. And so that's what you guys are in and learning about criminal justice, and reentry is a part of criminal justice. Reentry is, anybody know about reentry? Reentry is returning citizens, helping returning citizens. So those that are been involved in criminal justice or in the justice system, they're coming home and they need resources, right? So there's positions as a case manager, workforce development, intake specialist. There's several different positions that you can kind of get involved in. So I want you guys to kind of jump on that and get some knowledge about workforce development in the reentry space. Depending on where you're from, you can make a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, you're not gonna be a millionaire, but you can make enough money to sustain yourself and have a good family. And this, you don't have to have a master's degree with this, right? I have a bachelor's degree, so just to give you a quick thing about me, I went to Morgan State, and then I transferred to Bowie State, and I majored in child and adolescent studies, and I went and started working with juvenile youth, right? So in juvenile youth, I was doing case management in the jails. I was doing work outside of the jails as well, helping those get jobs. So just not to brag about myself, but about 30 to 40 individuals that came home from jail in the last 2 years, they have DC government jobs because I was their case manager and assistant them, right? So it's different ways that you can go as far as criminal justice, and working in reentry as a case manager is one of them. Is anybody from the DC and Maryland area? Okay, only one? It's only one? Okay, so what I want you guys to do, and this is what you should do regardless, right? So I'm gonna give you my card, so whatever employment opportunities or internships that you may need in the D, when I say DC, I mean like PG County or DC, and then probably Northern Virginia, Alexandria, I can assist you and help you out with some employment opportunities as well, once you graduate. But what I want you to do is, and you guys are probably already working on this, everybody should have a LinkedIn, right? This is why I'm here today, through LinkedIn. This is why I have 2 jobs. My last 2 jobs working in DC government and in Maryland government is through LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn, you should need to start working on your LinkedIn. Even if you're in school, put it together so you can kind of start communicating with some of those people that you need, right? Those employers that you need, okay? So that's what I wanted to share with you. I'm going to give you my card. If anybody else is from the DC and Maryland area, please let me know so I can give you my card. And then I'm gonna introduce my next guest.
How y'all doing? Good, man. It's good to see that y'all here, especially since y'all in college and stuff, man. Y'all could be so many other places. But my name is Jamal Russell, J.S. Russell, because I'm also author, entrepreneur, spoken word artist. Put all of my books here just to give you a sense of what it is. But since I told y'all I was a spoken word artist, y'all want to show this morning? Yeah. Maybe y'all wake up a little bit. Since y'all in criminal in criminal justice, you'll see how it links with what I'm about to show you. So, about 15 years ago, right, I got a call from my cousin. He was like, yeah, I'm seeing these black SUVs, man. So, I pretty much knew what time it was, so I got up, started putting my stuff together. I could hear the people saying my name coming through the house. So I went to meet them with my hands up, because I was a fugitive wanted for murder. Now you might ask like, well, how did that happen? Well, I used to be in class doing nothing, time wasted, thinking about fast cash hustling and getting wasted, committing crimes, getting off my downs by God's graces. I was unconfined because during time I couldn't face it. The only bars I was trying to deal with was in music or Fort Knox. At times it was hard to deal, so I ain't lose it. I smoke pot, relax my mind, ease my body, and chill out. Or drink lips until my emotions spilled out. I filled out of luck, out of money, and out of time. I used to get frustrated when a year fucking buck the 9, unload as the gunpowder explodes. Propelling projectiles to create a bullet hole. Absorbing the heat, it's the power that I feel. The same stuff that get cowards hard to kill. But forget them hard standing on me. And the only reason why I was in the seat is the man I wanted to be, the things I wanted to see. But I'd be zoning, missing about 3/4 of the lecture. And before it's over, I'd be asleep, I bet you. Bored. Now, I wrote that at 17. High school student, on a roll, college bound to be an engineer major, president of NSB, president of the poetry club, but I was in the streets selling weed and crack. So that led me to where I eventually would be. Y'all criminal justice majors, y'all know what happens when y'all commit crime, right? You're in the streets, you either end up dead or in jail. So in prison, I seen Purple Mountain Majesties, but the conditions when I seen them is a tragedy. I don't know why the caged bird sings, but I know the caged man dreams looking at razor wire glistening. It's peace and joy seen out my barred window, inspiring hope and praise to a heavenly host. Still as violent slams of metal when my door closes that I can't open, hoping that host will let me someday go. Sooner than later, I'm in these books like they're a theater, showing scenes of something greater. Lives, culture, land, vivid knowledge that makes my horizon expand. And it's beautiful colors that stretch across that at the break of dawn, letting me know there's more beyond, so just carry on. Carry on and execute, because my pursuit of happiness is my constitutional right to pursue. When I get through them bars, those gates, this hurt, my hate, RCI the beautiful. So RCI, Roxbury Correctional Institution. I was incarcerated for a total of 12 years and some change, right? Roxbury, which is, like I said, Roxbury Correctional Institution is in Hagerstown, Maryland. I did the majority of my time there. People say a bit. That's what you do. So, depending on which side or what you choose to do will determine at what case you'll be dealing with people. Like you could end up being a CO, you'll be dealing with a person inside. You could be an officer, you could be a person helping somebody inside or preventing them from being inside. Or you can be a case manager helping somebody get free. And see what I did when you see these books here, this is all stuff that I wrote while I was inside because I made the decision that I ended up in a place that I felt like I was better than. And it was up to me to make the decision, to make the change, to do the work. And then I discovered my purpose out of my pain. See, doing entirely to the Most High, my desire is strong, keeping me going, pursuing the throne that I'm focused on simply because of what my mind told me I could hold. And it's mine to own if I just get it right and keep it wrong. All it be is to succeed, whatever that may be. For me, it's what I chose to make important to me, taken from my experience and escapades, not fought in being a spade for cutting hearts. It's my time in the dark to make me appreciate the light, and through I fight. It increases my might and my advances of light. My feelings are right, I thought. But it's that thought brought from that burn in my gut to erupt ideas of enterprise as well as rhymes to put me in a place that I visualize on top of a vast empire with the sole purpose to inspire. So, I was sentenced to a life all suspended but 50-year sentence. First degree murder. Me being out now, you know what I'm saying, that's God, right? But the other thing is, once I made that decision and I started writing, as you see this, writing freedom, because that's what I believe. Once I set my mind to what it was that I needed to do, I had to understand all of the things that got me there the things that I needed to get help on to get me up out of there and actually had some type of direction. Now, I'm not upset that I was incarcerated. Yeah, it was times, it was rough times that I had to deal with. And I had to learn a whole lot through the personal development, through myself, through the law, through the process, because I had a mistrial. You know, I had to go through the whole anger and frustration of dealing with trial, dealing with people that I felt betrayed me, dealing with the frustration of not necessarily knowing the legal system, and trying to figure out a way out. Because it's not a clear way unless you just say, I'ma just do my time. And when you're talking about a life or suspended but 50-year sentence, who wants to just do that? Absolutely. So with that, I got questions. I mean, if anybody got questions, because I got a lot to share. You gotta think, I did 12 years. I did multiple years in the streets doing the wrong thing. I had many brush-ins with the law, criminal justice system, back and forth. And also, when the man was talking about re-entry, that's what helped me get out. See, PG County in Maryland is the only county in the state that has re-entry. I'm not sure if any other one through Problem Solving Court has a program which they were looking at people's situations and letting them get out. Now because I was doing this work, doing the work as a youth challenge facilitator, doing work as a behind the wall mentor, teacher's aide, stuff like that, when we had mock parole or mock interviews, have been preparing myself. So when the people came to interview me, I was ready. And also because I had dealt with everything that I needed to internally involve in my case, because it can be an emotional thing. You'll have people that's in there, they convicted and they still wanna claim their innocence. So these are all the things that you gotta take in consideration. How many people wanna be lawyers? You wanna be lawyers, so that means you're gonna have to work with somebody on some degree. You wanna be prosecutor or defense? Huh?
Defense.
Okay, so a challenge that you might have is a person trusting you initially, to share their story, to give you all the facts so that you know how to best combat the case. Because you'll have to put forth a story, put forth evidence, put forth everything to get this person the best chance that they can in court. Now, how many of y'all ever been in court? Y'all have actually seen what it's like to have a jury trial? So those things, in my opinion, can be tough, because anybody ever interview the jurors and ask them, do you really wanna be here? Do you really wanna be missing out on your money? Do you really wanna be sitting here? You know, so me looking at it from my perspective now, I was guilty. I did that, right? But what I didn't wanna do is get life plus whatever, cause I already was a felon. So a felon in possession of a firearm or using it in the commission of a crime carries additional time to the life sentence. That's what I didn't want to do. But I'm seeing these people, and they might have forensic in there talking about, well, this says this, and giving all these numbers that's very, very confusing, and they're getting bored. All of these other people using legal terms, and none of this stuff is exciting as court on television. The only thing that may be exciting is when you hear about what maybe happened through somebody's phone or something else like that, and it's gonna have an effect on a person that's regular, like, oh nah, they'll judge you before they even know what the facts are. So how would you go about presenting your case given the evidence? I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot right now, but that's something that you would have to think about, because what I also had observed is that regardless of what evidence was put there, as confusing as it may be, or as factual as it may be, the prosecution could go on and put on a display and talk to the jury in any type of way to create a story that's not even accurate, but it'll sound good to those people in that box, and they'll buy you. So you have to kind of combat that, and usually they have the last word, because the burden is on the defense. And that's something that I had to learn firsthand. It was at times devastating, because to hear somebody say guilty and you don't know what you're about to be sentenced to, I swear it'll crush you if you was facing what I was facing. However, I got a little bit of relief being that I didn't get the life plus. So with a number, I said, okay, I can combat this, I can break this down. Because yes, I was guilty of murder. It should have been second degree versus first degree because I was under the influence. And that was something that I learned a lot later. And as a person that actually been through the system on my side, it would be my duty to do due diligence to figure out how best that I would be able to help my defense. What information, who, and it becomes a lot because the average person doesn't think about this. I try to tell youth now because fortunately I'm blessed. I work for the health department in PG County where I get to mentor the youth. I try to expose it to these young folks like, you don't even know that gun 5 years, you hit somebody that might be a lot more years. You don't got the money to fight this. When it comes to a murder or certain other burglaries, assaults, things like that, people don't have the money for the defense. You don't have the money for defense, you're just gonna have to get whoever's appointed to you. And I'm sure there's some very competent public defenders. But the truth of the matter is, when you are in a high crime area, you might have, they'll get overwhelmed with the caseload. Being overwhelmed with a caseload means they might not be able to give as much time to a case, right? So, let's talk about the other side. Been in prison all them years, right? Before even getting sentenced, I did almost 3 years in the county jail. Y'all probably don't know, a county or city jail is worse than going to the state or feds. I'm telling you, it was a terrible experience because you got people coming in and out, people at various levels of whatever they dealing with. Then there's the whole, as they talk about a lot now, mental health. So if you got people coming in, they fresh off of whatever they off of, or still in their system. You have people that have been dealing with years of crime, abuse, trauma, addiction, whatever, and you housing everybody together. It becomes a crazy situation. You're not getting any sunlight, you're not getting rec, you're not getting a lot. Depends on what facility you've been in, and unfortunately I've been in too many, right? So there becomes an issue, right? So if you decide that you wanna go on the CEO part or the case management part, or you're trying to help anybody on that aspect, you gotta actually see what you're dealing with. Because there may have been young people that's been going through the system since they were young. Will they have their GED? Will they be educated enough to be able to do whatever? Do they have mental issues? Do they have what they say now, an IEP? Which, that's new terminology for me coming back into this word. How are you gonna help them? Or do you wanna help them? Do y'all wanna help people or y'all wanna punish them? What do y'all wanna do? Help people, okay, right? So, what I've also noticed is that sometimes the training of, whether it's officers out there or guys as CO, females as CO, the training may not be towards helping us versus them, because the people inside might be thinking that. We're not seeing humanity anymore, we're seeing you're in oranges, or whatever they make you see in, wearing this, or you're in an officer's uniform. And it's already that minorities have a certain way of looking at people with uniforms. So you have to deal with that. People may be disrespectful on both sides. You have to deal with that. There's a whole lot that goes along with it, right? And then it'll be our jobs as best as possible to navigate. Because even as a mentor, I've entered to try to help one of my youth into a school, and one of the officers in the school overly aggressive. I said, young man, he not strapped, he not causing no problems. He just was on the school property when he wasn't supposed to. Why are you giving him all of this? And for me, I think it's extra dangerous because youngins got access of whatever they want to. So you play around if you want to, disrespecting them. So this is the way that I think, because I was actually in the streets. And there's some of the stuff that I talk to people that's not really, and I'm just like, that's not how that goes, and people will have a misconception of what it is. So, I'll open up for any questions that you might have so that I can better address what you need to know. Yes, ma'am?
When you got released, would you say you wanted to be back in the streets, or like what changed basically mentally? I know you've been through probably programs and stuff, but mentally what had changed so you wouldn't go back to the streets?
So, remember I told you about those 32 months I was in the county jail? Then I had my mind changed because I'm sitting in a place with a bunch of ugly people. Not everybody's ugly, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, wow, I'm in this place. I'm like, I can't believe it, because I came from being able to do what I wanted to when I wanted to. Had a little bit of money, had, access to things that I needed, to being in a place where I had absolutely no control and not seeing how my poor decision making put me in there, could potentially be facing life. So I had decided then to do something different, and that's one of the things that I always emphasize, like with the prison system, instead of it just being punitive, that's the right word, right? It should be rehabilitative from like day one, right? I seen this documentary called U.S. Jail or American Jail, and they interviewed this lady. She was over in Finland, Norway, wherever, and she was like, if you see our jail, you can see there's a lot of open cells. And she said, that's because we work on rehabilitation from day one. And I'm like, why can't we do that here? We have the largest incarcerated population, right? And so, like I said, I was in the Maryland state system. People that look like us are not the majority in the state of Maryland, but people that look like us seem like they was the majority in prison. And that's because Baltimore City, which has a lot of us, floods the system. PG County, which has a lot of us, floods the system. And it's a different way of how people are treated, both in and out, especially when it comes to sentencing. Did you know just because you darker, that you'll get a harsher sentence? Because to me, if a white man was judging us right now, could be for the same thing. They did studies on it. So I sat back and really studied. Let me get your question first, so before I continue on.
To base my question first, I feel like the main issue with court systems would be jury, because they're supposed to be, unbiased. Do you feel like when you had your court case, that when you were convicted and you were sentenced, do you feel like they looked at you a different certain way because you're African American man than someone who would be white or Hispanic or?
Absolutely. When they say a jury of your kids, I had never seen any of them people, and none of them people would never be a peer of mine in no places that I actually stepped into. It's like, there's no way. You're not my age range. This was one of the things that I seen, right, and it was crazy. It seemed like every time it was a cute girl, a cute young lady, somebody attractive in it, they immediately scratched them. And I was like, what is the correlation between that? But they did. And you'll see, like, with different things throughout the jury selection, it's just something that you would have to definitely see, and I definitely encourage y'all, if y'all ever able to check into that, like really see how that whole process goes, or interview attorneys, both prosecutors and defense, to see what their strategy is, because of that, they'll know, all right, we'll choose this person or that person, because they're most likely to lean towards this way versus something else. And there was a decision that I made as far as the jury that my attorney was trying to advise me against. It was, the foreman was a black reverend. And I'm thinking like, all right, well, I had been in church for some time. Actually, one of my character witnesses was a pastor that I actually traveled with to do something when I was in the church real heavy. My attorney scratched my character witnesses at the last day, and this foreman definitely was judgmental of me. And yeah, so I don't know all of the different things in which they choose, why they do, but they have their reasons, and you can get that information from them, But yeah, look into that, and of course, yeah, it's gonna be against you if you look like us, because generally, society criminalizes us. That's period. Like, you even have black people that feel the same way, like if you come through and you see a bunch of young dudes, they got their little, what they call them joints, what's the rapper name? Foo Shiesty joints on and stuff like that, you might think a certain way. They just wearing that because all the rest of the youngins is wearing it, you know? But it's a judgmental, but if you see white dude, you know, you probably ain't gonna feel the same way, you know? And what's all crazy is most likely the white dude might be more dangerous than the other one. So, any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
So I know you said in high school you were the president of NESB and
The poetry club.
right? So how did that correlate with you being in the streets? Was it like a financial thing or like back home?
Absolutely a financial thing. So, my freshman year, we were evicted. I'm my mother's only. So I'm like, one job. But nah, of course, me being 14, I don't know all the struggles of what it is to be a daughter, a single parent, things of that nature. But that's the way that I felt. If I'm gonna do my job, you do your job. If I take care of what I need to in the grades, that year was my worst academically, but you know. So that was the whole thing. And when we talk about that, a lot of youth don't have the maturity to know what it's like to be an adult, paying bills, taking care of a child, taking care of yourself. So they wouldn't know the struggles. So if they decided to go that direction for that, it's just for lack of understanding. But then you have others for various other reasons. There's a gun culture that's out there. And I picked up guns because other people had guns. Picked up guns because guns was on me or pointed at me or some other things where I felt like I'm at risk. So that's what happens. Youngers are picking up guns because other youngers got guns and other youngers are shooting people, and there's a lot of other stuff that's going on. So when it's more of a survival type of thing, and you gotta start looking at it like that as well. It may not just be, oh, I wanna do crime, or I wanna do this. It may feel like they have to. So I have come across some people that, you know, they are more looking into this community policing thing to where they can understand, but still it's crazy because there's other places where they wouldn't be as harsh on people possessing guns as they would with us. Yes, ma'am.
What is that the biggest difference from the 32 months down in jail to prison?
Men handle themselves differently in prison. Then by that time, they have their time, they either focusing on just doing their time or working on getting up out of here. You got some of them that's, you know, with the shenanigans, the BS or whatever, but you can navigate that because you have more space. With the exception of COVID or when there's lack of staffing, you're not confined all the time to one place. In the county jail, you confined to that unit. Now, in a larger place like where I was, you have, I don't know, you could have maybe 100 people. Everybody confined, everybody in everybody's business, everybody there. Or it could be in a smaller place like where they came and got me in Scotland County, North Carolina, where it's only 8 cells, but still, 3 to a cell with the exception of a protective custody cell, you know. Everybody's confined and living on top of each other and everybody's dealing with anything. So the same people that may not be getting commissary might be the people that's gonna come rob you. And you gotta live with that or check in or deal with some other stuff. And if you check in, then some people gonna see you on another unit and you're gonna have to fight. Or if they find out you hot, you done jumped on the case or some other stuff. It's all of this that's going on, which I've experienced a lot more with people not knowing how to deal with themselves, not understanding, because there is a code, there is an understanding of how things go. People are overly socializing with the police or doing stuff which they shouldn't be doing, and it's just a mixture of things in there where it's not that it doesn't exist on a state level or whatever, but it's handled differently. Yes, ma'am.
Alright, so was your decision on choosing a jury trial based on not wanting life, or what was your decision making to choose between a bench trial and a jury?
So I didn't have a full understanding of, you talking about when you say bench trial, having the judge.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a good enough understanding of that, before. It took some years after my incarceration to even learn the difference in that. And that's a lot of, the issue too. A lot of people aren't educated on the judiciary process, what it takes. But my decision was, I wasn't gonna plead to the cop that they gave me, which was 30 to 50 or 40, which is just like, that's insane. I was 25 years old, 27, 28 when I went to trial. Never seen 30 years of life. How could I give you that? And they said 30 to 50. That's not even, what is that? I still don't know. And I just couldn't see myself doing that. So the alternative was fight, retain all my rights, and figure out a way back, because that plea would have bound me to that. And there's people that when they take those plea deals, and they want some type of alternative, they gotta fight the plea deal before they can even fight anything else. You know? And it may seem like a good alternative compared to, you know, losing, but you can lose and get back in court. So that's what I made the decision on. Yes, ma'am.
If you were able to go back in time,
See, that's the thing that's crazy, right? I wouldn't be here right now if I made the decisions, right? I wouldn't be the man that I am today. I don't think, cause it's a whole lot of that adversity, those hardships that I had to endure, the things that I had to sit down and read, the things that I had to experience to make me this way. One of the things that I regret most about this situation was that mother crying in that courtroom when she seen, you know, her son being displayed. That was one of the things that was crazy. I don't wish the hurt on that family, right? However, in the moment, you know, what if that would ended up me? I would always choose me over somebody else. So. Yes, ma'am.
oh, do you know that your person that killed?
Yeah. I ain't wanna do it. What Lil Wayne say? Try to talk to him. Good.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So I don't think you touched on it, but did you tell them that you were in college? And so when you were in college, like, how did that, what deterred you from graduating? Like, what were some of the things that you were what's some advice that you would give them that, not saying that they're in this situation, but it could be, like, somebody they may know, what advice would you give them just to make sure they stay on the right path and graduate and, you know, let me successful?
So, and it's ironic that we in the engineering building, cause I was a civil engineer major at A&T. So I had already formed bad habits. Like we talked about, it was the financial thing that triggered me to go back. Because even now A&T, I was selling weed. You know what I'm saying? What I would suggest, what I also did is I took in too many credits my freshman year, which I always tell young folks now, I'm just like ease into it, because you never know what that transition would be like. Now I was headstrong, I didn't take my mother's advice, but I had stopped listening to her a long time ago, so, you know, I just had to learn my way. And so I did poorly that year, and even that summer I got hit on a parkway, which fractured my pelvis, so that presented more challenges because of bad decision making. So the thing that I would say is, take advantage of the network and the environment which you in. This is something like I don't know if you'll experience anywhere else, right? You have people that you'll probably, form lifelong friendships with, people that you'll grow with, people that'll be successful, people that you can continue to bond with and do great with. Because those people that I was in the street with, ain't none of them do nothing for me while I was in. And I'm talking about folks that owed me money. I used to count it when I was there and I had to borrow a noodle. You know how it feels to have to borrow a damn ramen noodle for somebody? These things only cost like 34 cents and I can't even get that at a time, you know? So I say appreciate this and know that you're in a spot of growth. And this, when you continue this, one, get in the habit of finishing what you started, right? That's key. Cause people will talk about folks, well, they may not use their degrees or something, but they got that paper that say that they entitled to another amount of paper, so, you know, that's the start. The other thing is, be creative and also know how to pivot, because the information that you're learning can be used in another area if you decide to do that. You'll always be able to use information. You'll always be able to use your connections. You'll always be able to do that as long as you're free. Right? So, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
How do you, how do you bridge the gap between the things you've done and how society views you? Because some individuals might not have any experience with, just minority challenges, like in low income areas. Some people might be from higher income places. They might not have seen or heard anything that you've ever done. So how do you portray yourself as not what you've done, but how you've grown?
How many people seen Pulp Fiction? Y'all ever seen Pulp Fiction? You seen Pulp Fiction? You remember when he said, get that wallet? What that wallet say? Huh? What it say? You don't remember what the wallet said? So you ain't watch, but anyway, the wallet said bad motherfuckers, right? So it's a classic joint. I gotta go back and listen to it. But I had to build myself up. I stopped caring about what people think a long time ago. You know, when I was actually sitting around and people worrying about this person, I'm like, you ain't here with me. Well, you in the street. Like, what you gonna do? You know, the person who I cared about mattered. The judge, who was gonna help me get free? And it's the same thing in here. Unless you're going to work with me and we decide to build together, or you got an opportunity for me, but I care about what you think. Now, as far as how a person may view me, I'm gonna show up. And I know that I'm pretty intelligent. I can be effective and impactful in what I do. So because I know who I am and what I have to give, it's like, your opinion does not matter. Unless it matters. You know what I'm saying? And there's very few people. The majority of people, opinions doesn't matter to me, so, you know. Yes, ma'am.
So the 12 years that you did, the 12 years and some change that you did, what was the biggest thing that you came to a realization about yourself?
Good question. So, one of the things is that I created my circumstances, right? So you see these books. It was a time, remember I said I was writing poetry and stuff like that before. One time I wrote, motherfuckers should be glad I don't own a gun. Moms would be taking trips to prison to visit her only son. I'm mad, frustrated, angry, and discontent, the cause of committing violent crimes and getting bent. It's before I had a pistol. But I wrote myself into a life the way that I was thinking, the way that I was feeling, into something that I really, you know, didn't think was gonna happen. So what I did was, once I started seeing the power of my words, the power of being intentional with the way I thought and things like that, I started doing it a different way. So that's why I say, write my freedom, because it's more so that I got a chance to read a whole lot of books. There was some great books. I'm not sure if you ever heard of Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh, stuff like that. These have similar themes with letting you know the power that you have just by controlling your thoughts, controlling how you speak to yourself, how you speak to others, you know, using your words more intentionally. So these same words, like, cause we talking about law, these laws, these words could give a person a sentence or they get freedom. So once I changed myself, my vision, stuff like that, and I just got the working tools because it was already people that had successfully done things that I wanted to do. So it was just like, let me follow what they do.
Can you talk about your experience with reentry and your relationship with like your family or friends?
Yeah. So the reentry court, thank God for them. So, before Lamont Heading, who was the head coordinator of the reentry, there really wasn't a lot of people getting rid of. Once he took that position, it's just like, boom, a floodgate open, which it gave an opportunity to a lot of lifers, a lot of people that done multiple decades, 20, 30 years, you know, plus. And these were men. And when I say men, the standard of who they were as individuals, you know what I'm saying, was something that I felt like this needs to be in society because it's been lacking. So to be around those guys has been a blessing, to have the opportunity because of course, like I'm telling y'all to do network, when I was going to those courtrooms, doing all that networking, I kept with the people that mattered. Like we talked about what they thought, that judge, the people in that box, it was on that round table, because I seen the opportunity there. And that is what helped me, put me in a position where I end up getting a job with the health department. Now, as far as coming home with the family, that's been a challenge. My relationship with my mother is good now. My relationship with my daughter, I wanna say is better, but can't really be sure. She's off in like a boarding school type demonstration right now. But that was tough because I wasn't who she thought, when I'm talking about my mother, whoever she thought, you know, I was when I was there. And I had to get out the house way back then because of things that I didn't like. So having to come back and I'm a different person, I'm a man, it was challenging. So that was something that I didn't foresee, but everything is cool now. With my daughter, it was a challenge because she was like, I don't know you. And I'm like, damn, what happened with all them visits and family days and letters but you know, her point of view was her point of view, and I had to eventually accept that because in both situations I felt like I was being hurt. I felt rejection. I felt misunderstood, and I had to deal with that. So therapy was key, and me figuring out the best way to navigate. Yes, ma'am.
Alex, you was talking about mental health, and I got my stepdad and my dad, they both did 25 years in the penitentiary. So I asked them this question as well, how do you feel like, or what was the best way to get over your conscience after having did what you did? Not just with seeing, you know, like you said, somebody's mother cry or et cetera, like how did you deal with your conscience after doing that? Because I know like my fathers both told me like it dawned on me because they took somebody's life, you know? Well, multiple people, but it's bad.
Telling that man better.
No, he didn't mind, I was just asking because you know.
Would you say that?
But he was like, it's like kind of like, you know how like you see in movies when you can like hear people talking to you or like you can still see that it didn't happen. So I was just wondering like how do you do your mental health like outside of that? Because therapy can help you, but you like how do you do your own mental health?
Well, in the situation of the deceased, in my situation, I don't really have a whole lot with that. Like, I wish it never happened, and it couldn't. Like I said, I didn't want it to. It was one of those situations where I'm not gonna say my hand was forced. Just put it like this: I've been in the streets. People have set me up before. I had a gun on the back of my head before. I've dealt with my own trauma, and you let certain things slide, it can be you. So try to, you know, do everything that I could before the incident so that it wasn't an incident. One of the things that stood out was, I believe it was a modification I came up But the sister, I didn't know these people existed. Sister, whoever else, children, cause we knew each other, but we weren't like friends, you know. She said he didn't have any moral compass. And at first I was thinking, man, you don't know me, what you talking about? But as I sat down and really analyzed it, no, I didn't. Sold drugs, used drugs, sold guns, did all types of things that were immoral. So I had to analyze myself and come to grips with that. There would be nights that I was in the cell, but I was in the county just writing, you know, writing over what happened, writing over how to deal with, how to process with the situation, because like, I was really feeling like, why, you know? Cause it wasn't like I had it in my mind at night, oh yeah, I'm gonna go get somebody. Like, no. Even up until the actual event, that was not my thought process. So it wasn't something that I really had to deal with, cause it wasn't something that I went out to maliciously do, you know? Yes.
Okay, so if you have like a group of young men, sitting in front of you who are in this, well, who was in the same predicament as you, selling drugs, carrying guns and all that, like, what would you have want to say to them? Like, what would you have wanted someone to say to you in their position? If you understand the question.
No, I understand. That's the thing though. I would say, I could say something to a group of young men, but depending on where they at individually would be how it would hit. Like, I don't speak to them just like I'm speaking to you. It's going, you know, affect people differently. Some of them might really be in it. Some of them, you know, might not have some choices. But the thing that I definitely try to kick is like, what you want? You wanna go to prison? You wanna die? Like, cause I know it may sound cliche when people say they're going to prison, but generally, like, I've been in a cell with a person that had damn near a deck of cards full of obituaries as far as his men, you know what I'm saying, that died, or people that had died and stuff like that. Cause he was in one of those type of areas and the stuff in which he did. And it's like, I'm fortunate I'm out here, I ain't been stabbed, I ain't been shot, you know what I'm saying? And that's not typical for people that's in it. You know, it's like, what do you want? Because there's another side. Like, I feel like so much, when I was young, I was fed some BS by cousins and older people. Yeah, you gotta be gangster, you do all of this, da 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 da. But somewhere along, missed the end of the movie, you know, where either somebody is telling, or somebody's going to prison, or somebody's getting killed, and that's what happens. It's like, do you want that, or do you want to live? Because it's a lot of people out here that's living, you know, because you could be, and this is what I have to tell the young male, you could be in there getting no coochie for a long time. And that'll hit a little bit different, when they be like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't out here, you not getting no food, you not all of that stuff that you think that you like, getting flying, stuff like that. No, there's none of that. You know what I'm saying? What you wanna join the gang for your survival, become Muslim? You know, I talk to them like that, and it depends on them as to how they act. You know, some of them be forward, some of them not. Some of them, they just gotta get a dose of reality before they hear it. They'll be like, oh, that old common looking ass nigga said this.